Hello and welcome to the live stream Q&A for We Don't Dance for no for uh We Don't Dance for Nothing. For some reason I thought I got that wrong. Anyway, welcome. My name is Arjang Zafar. I am a programming director at PATH and I'm here with director Stefanos Tai and actress Saza Kata. Would you each like to introduce yourselves in a bit more detail, if you like?
Sure, Saiza, you want to go first?
Okay. Hi, my name is Sai Sakada, and I'm based in Hong Kong. I'm one of the lead actors at We Don't Dance for Nothing.
And I'm Stefanos Tai. I'm the director and writer of the film. I am based in New York right now. And yeah, we're just very happy to be here with Path. Arjang, excited for the questions. And yeah, let's go.
Great. So just to start off with some kind of basic line of questioning, can you, Stephanos, tell us basically like how did you conceive of the idea for this project? And building from that, like what were the initial steps that you took in developing it?
Yeah. So in 2017, I moved to Hong Kong. And I very quickly found this community of women that I didn't even know existed. And obviously, that's the OFWs, domestic workers, mostly Filipinos, some Indonesians, obviously, and almost entirely women in Hong Kong. I was, before I knew I wanted to make a film, I was just inspired by their energy on Sundays. They have one day off every week. And if you've seen our film, you know that they dance every moment of those Sundays like it's their last. And that was really interesting to me. And I wanted to find out more about them. It also happened that they were very welcoming to me. And I thought we had a very similar idea of a good time on a Sunday. So we just sort of became friends. The more I learned about them, the more I thought that the media had shown them in a very surface level, one dimensional way. And I wanted to see if there was a way that together we could show them beyond just their job descriptions. They are domestic workers. They do cooking, cleaning, they take care of the kids. But, and their struggles are well documented, but they also have this other side that the world doesn't know about. They're talented, they're full of grace. We wanted to show that in a more visually colorful way than the news would show it. And so we just sort of made a lot of, we did a lot of research. We involved a lot of people in the process. And together we made this film that is hopefully more of a celebration. And it's definitely my love letter to them. And, I miss them dearly now that I'm not in Hong Kong anymore. So that's the message of the film. And that's, I guess, how it started all those, 4 or 5 years ago now.
Great. So, Ziza, how were you approached about being in the film? And what was your sort of initial reaction to the being pitched it or however it happened?
First of all, I did not accept the role because I'm Filipina actress, but because when I heard about the story, I know it could be it will serve as an inspiration. And I'm always a fan. I'm always a fan of domestic workers in Hong Kong. As I grew up here, I've witnessed a lot of pain, and I know how the struggle is. So for me, yeah, it's an inspiration.
Um, okay, so I guess let's talk about kind of one of the big distinguishing aspects of the film. So like Stephanos, can you tell us a little bit about the intention behind the sort of photo montage aspect of it?
Yes, the elephant in the room. So obviously the film is a sequence of photographs mixed with moving images. The reason for that, there's several, and I, without giving too much of director's notes, I think that we were searching early on for a way to show what it must feel like for these women to be working in the house Monday through Saturday nonstop, feeling very trapped, and then on Sunday, excuse me, on Sunday to be able to go out and dance their hearts out and release all the tension and just be fully free, or to feel that way one day a week. And I thought that by physically freezing our performers, Miles and Saiza and the other actors, in a photograph, you might actually, as an audience member, ideally be able to viscerally understand a bit better what that life might feel like when contrasted with their dancing, which is obviously in motion in a much more like liquid, beautiful kind of high octane style, I guess. But also the film is a giant memory, and it also talks about the unreliability of memory. We shot on film, so everything has a very like family photo, at least we're going for a very family photo sort of tangible texture to it. Those were the main reasons. Of course, there's many others, but I actually am always very curious to hear what people think, because some people really get it. Other people find their own reasons for it to make sense. And it's fascinating.
Yeah, totally. And what was, at either of you, what was kind of shooting the film in this way, or if it was mostly in the editing process? I'm not like, what was that like in the moment?
It
Saiza has
was
a lot
fun.
of
Yeah.
That's a lot. So I'm gonna repeat it again. When we auditioned for this, okay. Stefano told us about the movie, but I wasn't very clear about it. I did not expect that it's gonna be a stills. So when he showed us the clip, we were shocked. I mean, obviously just me. I was shocked because I wasn't expecting that it's gonna be stills. But so I questioned him, oh my God, I didn't know it's gonna be like this. And he was like, oh, I informed everyone. I said, okay, I'm not really sure about that. But in the end, I kind of like it because I like the concept, and the fact that, when the photo, it kind of it gives you an idea what's happening behind it. So yeah, I learned that the concept is great, and I kind of love it in the end. But the process itself, it was fun because Stefano and the rest of the crew, they're very they guide us through it. So yeah, it is. I can't say anything than just fun filming with these guys.
And a note also about like the capture, like the way we actually shot it. The whole approach is very less is more. It's about giving people A and then B, and then asking them to sort of infer how you get from A to B without spoon feeding them every little piece of information. Um, but the way, so it's a series of photographs, but those photographs are pulled from moving images that we shot. The reason we did it that way was because the way someone poses for a photograph, if I had asked Siza and Miles, look sad, I'm taking a photograph of you, you're meant to look sad, it's going to be put over dialogue where you're sad. It just doesn't feel the same as if you actually allow someone to do a scene and then you capture it. You get coverage from different angles, you get the whole take, and you have many, many hundreds and thousands of options to choose from instead of just one photo. So we wanted to shoot it in as much of a normal cinematic way as possible, but we also did know that it was going to be this way. I also chose not to, I told them it was going to be different, but I didn't want to show them exactly what it's going to be like. Because I think when we know we're going to be shown in a photograph, we kind of lock up sometimes, and we change the way that we act for the camera or behave in front of the camera. And we had a lot of flexibility later in the edit on like what parts are going to be in motion versus stills. But yeah, all of our actors, I think, embraced that we were doing something different, which involved a lot of like re-recording audio. It's not just like on set, you do it once and then it's done, right? You've got to change the lines and rewrite lines and add new lines. And I think they were very on board for that. So we were very lucky for that.
Yeah, and we're very
Yeah.
appreciative that Stefanos didn't explain the whole process, because otherwise it will kind of change the way we act, because we're going to be too conscious, we're going to be too concerned of if we did the great angle and so on. So I think you did a great choice, Stefano.
Hmm.
See, I'm saying good
Um,
things about you now.
We argue about this often though.
All
Interesting.
the time.
Um, so Stephanos, you spoke a bit about how your kind of personal experiences inspired you to embark on the journey of making this film. Were there any artistic inspirations and influences that inspired it?
Definitely. I mean, of course, the obvious one is La Jetée, Chris Marker's 30-minute photo montage, sort of the original photo montage that they show in film school. I didn't like it the first time I saw it. I was very young. I think I was in high school. But it stayed with me somehow, and it haunted me, you know. And even though our film is tonally completely different, messaging wise, totally different, colorful, right? Not black and white, but there's something about the frozen still image. It's almost like it puts you in a trance, I think, and it's a very delicate thing because you don't want to make people fall asleep, but you don't want to. You're not giving them a normal viewing experience. You're giving them something almost like a comic book where they're supposed to think on the frames, not just passively consume them. But also, once stills goes to motion, once you're used to stills and then it dares to turn into motion, I thought that was so powerful, and it made the whole thing worth it in La Jetée. So we were always trying to recreate something like that. In terms of the musical aspects, I mean, the inspiration wasn't so much any other films as actually just the women, our subjects themselves. You know, people always say, you've staged these dances. Are they really so talented? Are they really dancing in formations? Are there any flash mobs actually? Like how much creative liberty have you taken here? And I would say very little. If you go to Hong Kong, maybe many of you have, it is that way, right? Like Saiza, we talk about this all the time. They do dance amazingly. They are wearing bright and colorful clothing. It happens in the middle of the city almost every Sunday. Even during COVID, when we shot, it was there. It is its own inspiration. You know, it speaks for itself.
Sure.
And for me, as
Yeah,
being
great.
Filipino,
Sorry.
sorry, for me,
No, go
being
ahead.
Filipino, I think it is represented accurately. So, as Stefano said, they do dance, they wear the same clothes. So we really appreciate how Stefano created the whole thing accurately.
Yeah. And that's perfect because that kind of leads into another question I wanted to ask, which was how much, well, just in general, like what was it like kind of staging those sequences, those dance sequences, and also like how much choreography was involved, how much of it was sort of, more natural. Like, yeah, I'm just curious about all that.
Saiza, how much choreography was involved?
A
How
lot.
much
The
rehearsal?
the movie is actually, it revolves around just dancing. At least like 60% are all about dancing. Just me and Miles, we had two dances together. I have one solo, and the most amazing part is when we gathered all the domestic workers. There's about hundreds of them, and we didn't practice with them. I mean, they just watch the choreography online, and they just show up on the day. That's the dedication that we really appreciate.
And when you think about that, the scene you're talking about was a huge risk, right? Because we have Jen and Lauren from BPM Productions in Hong Kong were the most, they were a godsend to us. They were our choreographers. They did everything. We got so lucky to have them on our team. But still, despite we did many rehearsals with Saiza and with Miles and with the girls, with our active domestic worker actors, so people who are coming just one Sunday for 4 hours just to really volunteer, they don't have time. We're not able to have them rehearse for weeks and weeks like we did with our main actors. So we put on Facebook the dance steps, and it was a huge risk. That no one would show up. We need this big crowd, and it's COVID, and there's gathering restrictions, and we have an exception from the police, but you just never know. And then B, that people are just not going to want to do it, or they're not going to be able to do it. But we did, I think they told, everyone on our team told me, don't worry, if they show up, they're going to be able to do it. And they did. And with very little practice, I think they all nailed the moves. And that scene was amazing to shoot. Really fun.
Yeah. Were there any other kind of challenges that you ran into in production?
Yeah, I mean, it was constantly this question of COVID. The protests were also something that were there the whole time, and it was impossible to frame it out. But I would say COVID, especially because the government was changing the rules every week, right? Like one week it's a 2-person gathering limit. then the next week it goes up to 8, and then it's back to 4. And sometimes they're giving exceptions for film shoots, but sometimes they're not. And even when you do have an exception, we'd get the cops called on us all the time, and we have to explain, like, we have, we're allowed to take our masks off because we're shooting something, and it was just a very logistically difficult thing. Thankfully, case numbers were very low, so we weren't too worried about anyone getting sick. But this was pre-vaccine, so it was very, like, we had to. It was a risk, and we were trying our best to be careful, and had to adopt a lot of measures to control it.
Right. So I guess kind of switching gears here. So it's evident that you both are very, and rightly so, like, have an emotional investment and a sort of, you know ethical investment in the nature of the film and the nature of the story that's being told. I'm curious how you feel about, like, the fact that the sort of, despite its inventiveness, the way that the story is told, aesthetically and stylistically and structurally, could be seen by some as a little inaccessible. So was there ever anything in your, any sort of, tension in your mind about sort of, having a story that you felt was so important, and yet framing it in such a way that maybe it wouldn't reach as many people, or it wouldn't, or it would alienate potentially some people because of the nature of how it was being told?
Yes, I mean, I know I did. And it's not like when we set out to make this, everyone was saying this is a great idea and it's going to work flawlessly. And of course, to be honest, I look at the film now and there's things that I see, oh, this doesn't work as well as we thought it would. I think that counterintuitively, though, when you don't have money and when you're in today's landscape of indie films, which is everyone and their brother is making one, and it's easier to make one from a technical standpoint. You can shoot one on your phone, but it's harder to actually get one out in the noise of the world. I made the bet that you've got to do something different and attention getting to be seen at all. And I think that there's different ways to do that, right? That doesn't necessarily mean make a movie in stills, but I thought that what we lost in terms of accessibility, we would make up for in terms of novelty. And I believe that has happened. I do think there's been a lot of interest in our film because it's bold and it's different, it's brave. But the other thing I'll say is that I just don't think it's easy to tell what will work. If it was, no movie would ever lose money, right? Every movie would be a safe bet. And we've shown this movie to people who I was sure would like it, like other artists or very creative, pushing the envelope filmmakers. And many of them haven't liked it. And then we've shown this movie to, like our grandparents, people we think would never want to step outside the box of what they think of a film as being, and they fully embraced it. And so, and that goes for age and gender and across countries. And we just never, I still to this day never know who's going to like it and who's not. The audience we obviously care most about is actual domestic workers and Filipinos. If they don't like it, that really stings. Thankfully, they've embraced it. But yeah, it's my first film. To be honest, I don't really know what makes an accessible film anymore, if anyone really does.
Yeah. Well, yeah, great. Wonderful. I love that answer. But also, like, so you just mentioned it's your first film. We haven't really touched on that. Um, I guess going off of that, like, um, for either of you, like, through the process of being a part of this, like, what did you learn? Was there anything you learned at, like, in, as, filmmaker, and then also just, in general, about the people that you were, making the story about and for?
Go Stefan first.
I mean, so much. I
Yeah.
think, I guess, first as a filmmaker, I've learned that I mean, it sounds so cheesy, but I think people are passionate about what you are passionate about. And, you know, we're now at the point where people who originally told us this will never work, or we don't like this, or like, we don't need another domestic worker movie or whatever, have now come to our screenings and seen that we did follow through on what we said we're going to do. We weren't just talking, and they've actually, sort of said like, oh, I really loved your film now. And I think it's interesting to see how when you have a movement, um, I just think you can do a lot more than people will give you credit for in the beginning as a team, and when your heart is in the right place. And about the women that this film is about, I think that I've learned so much about them through making it, but the thing that always sticks out is they're so generous, um, coming from a position that many of us would not have the capacity for generosity. Um, these women don't have free time. They don't have much disposable income, and yet they pooled together to help us. They helped us find locations for free. They came and volunteered their time, aside from just very generously letting me in their world. And actually, I'm not only talking about domestic workers, and I'm also not only talking about Filipinos. Anyone who has a link to that community has been very generous to me personally. Um, Not that they needed to be. And so that's given me all the energy to push this film out, because I think we have a huge responsibility to tell this story the right way, and with the people we're talking about, not just sort of top down. And I will never stop until, if there's anything that can be done for this film, I'll do it, because so many people have given us so much to get to this point.
Liza, go ahead if you have anything.
First of all, we'd like to thank everyone who really appreciate the movie, because this is not just a movie. There's a message that we're sending out to the world that oh my god, I'm being emotional. That there are a bunch of Filipino women. It's a community that always had been taken for granted. And with this movie, we believe that we have touched a lot of people's heart, not only a domestic worker, but everyone who's not, they're not aware of what's going on the other side of the world. Because we know, when we show this, was that in Canada, when a few people had no idea that there are a community like this, that
Mm.
on Sundays they were just outside, whether it's raining or it's a sunny day, they're just outside to enjoy their day off. They are not treated fairly. So I hope that with this movie that people would learn that we appreciate what we have right now. And um sorry, I'm being emotional. I don't know why.
Of course, no problem.
The the they gave up their lives in the Philippines for them to be able to put food on the table. Hence, they're working for another family, taking care of someone else's child. It's a big sacrifice. So yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Sorry, go on. I can't.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You both have also, in the process of answering some of my questions, have answered other questions that I hadn't even asked yet, which is great. But now I'm running out. So I guess to kind of start to wrap up, Stefanos, since Isaac kind of already just did this, the film itself isn't necessarily like super didactic or instructive. It doesn't necessarily wear like any sort of message outwardly on its sleeve, even if it's sort of evident. Like, is there anything that you just want people to know about, the situation of the Filipino domestic workers in Hong Kong that you can just say outright?
Yeah, I mean, I think what our film boils down to is, are you seeing these women as people who clean your homes and also happen to have a few tricks up their sleeve, or are you seeing them as talented dancers and artists and mothers and humans who are also domestic workers? I think the order of those things it makes all the difference, and that's what our film is about.
Yeah, great. Okay, so thank you both so much. Just to close, I'm gonna just ask you both, and unfortunately, this is gonna be a bit of a you know, gonna give some whiplash from the emotional, conversation that we had, but like, just, if you're working on anything, currently, beyond this, let us, that you want us to know about, you can let us know. Let us know where we can follow you and follow your work. And yeah, any closing thoughts that you might have.
Saiza, what are you working on?
That's so I can't stop. I don't know why. I'm just being emotional because all through the screening and everything, it is, we really appreciate people who appreciate our film, first of all. And I know by now, we've already sent out the message, so mission accomplished. I'm Yeah, I'm just truly thankful. Go on,
We're
Sam.
thankful. We're grateful to you. We're grateful to you for being a part of this and making it real.
Yeah. And actually, like, Saiza, I hope it's okay to say this, but you've put so much of yourself into your character that to see it resonate. Actually, I was just talking to someone today who is not a domestic worker, not Filipino, but he was raised, his parents weren't there to raise him when he was growing up. And he told me that he connected with your scene, particularly just to know that your own personal experience has inspired many people to value that sacrifice of a parent who's forced to leave their child. That's so beautiful to me. So that's you've given us a huge gift in that, Saiza. So thank you.
Thank you.
Should I tell what I'm working on now?
You can, yeah. You're welcome to.
Yeah, so I'm writing a new film about dementia. Both of my grandmothers, Saiza, I might not have told you about this actually, but both of my grandmothers passed away from dementia, from Alzheimer's.
Oh yeah, you
And
told us this
I did
story.
tell you this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in my more recent grandmother's death, she started to believe before she died that she was very young, and she was in her 70s. She was old, but she started to believe that she was a young woman, and she started to believe that I was her boyfriend or lover.
Yeah.
And I couldn't convince her, no matter how many times I say, I'm your grandson, I love you, but I'm not this person. She wouldn't, she doesn't budge. She just believes what she believes. And I want to tell that story because I learned a lot about, despite what we remember and our cognition and what we know, we still feel connected to the people we love. And there's still a connection, even if the context of it is totally wrong. Even if she thinks I'm her lover, she knows that I'm someone she cares about and trusts. And I thought that was very beautiful. So we're writing that now very slowly.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm sure however you decide to tell that story, it'll be told in a fascinating way.
Hope so. Hope so.
Um,
Try.
yeah. Okay. Sorry, Zaza, did you have anything you wanted to?
Nothing. I'm not working on anything
Okay.
right now. I will continue to be a good Filipino citizen, and that's it. I'm very low key. I just help as much as I can. I'm very supportive of my community,
Yeah.
and if there's another chance to share another story about this film, I will do so. And also
Great.
to add on,
I'm sure.
this
Yeah.
film, this film bring us all together. We became friends, we became family. So we're so grateful for this film. Even though it's already like 2 years past, we still communicated. We have a great relationship with each other.
Mm.
We haven't seen each other since
The
was that
summer.
August? The
August,
summer.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then we're gonna be together again. Even though the rest of the crew aren't always, with us, they're very supportive. They have full-time job, but yeah, this is family. This is not just a film.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Okay. So thank you both for being here. Thanks to whoever's viewing. You can look forward to, you know, more from Stephanos, and you can find more stuff from Path at path.org. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us. Sorry for being emotional. I'm just very emotional.
Don't. You're good.
Thanks.
Thank you.